we know what's in the red meat we eat today? Well, is our red meat killing us? The cattle that is being slaughtered for our consumption is being fed contaminants which is life-threatening to our human body. Today I'm going to explain to you why red meat is bad for you, the dangers of red meat, and the solutions to your choice of eating red meat or alternatives. First, I'm going to tell you why red meat is bad for you. The first reason is that the cattle is being fed contaminated corn and other genetically modified grain. The contamination comes from pesticides, Roundup, weed poisons, pesticides in the air. These pesticides seep into the groundwater and contaminate the water that is used in farming. The grain grown to use for food for the cattle, such as corn, is chemically enhanced to assure the quick growth and is filled with loads of chemicals. According to Ronnie Humans, a contributor to nationalnews.com, U.S. non-organic farmers used an average of 25 million pounds of synthetic nitrogen fertilizer per year. That means that more than 163 billions of nitrous oxides are released each year in the process of manufacturing that fertilizer. This fertilizer poison accelerates the growth of the animals and puts in toxins that destroy the skin, the flesh, that is sold to us in supermarkets. Chemical farmers are not inspected or recommended by the federal or state governments as their use of pesticides or fertilizers unless there is an accident. Rather, they are local farmers or farmers in a factory, such as in California or Florida or China. The only way the abuses are caught, unless there is a fish killed, there's local poisoning, or there's multiple poisonings, some noticeable injury, or some other noticeable injury, such as a spill or overuse or carelessness. So I ask you again, is the red meat really killing us? Yes, it is. The dangers of consuming red meat are heart diseases, diabetes, cancer, premature deaths, obesity, and E. coli poisoning. An example from the film Food Inc., there was a 12-year-old boy who ate 3 cheeseburgers and was diagnosed with E. coli poisoning. He had blood in his stools. He wasn't able to drink anything, which made him dehydrated. When he was taken to the hospital. After 16 days later, he was admitted to the hospital. He died. The doctors determined that the cause of his death was the amount of excessive eating of red meat, which was contaminated with poisons. Now I'm going to tell you some solutions or alternatives to the assumption of eating red meat. According to Ann Harding, a contributor to Health.com, substitute only 1 daily serving of red meat with fish, poultry, nuts, beans, whole grains, or low-fat dairy, which will reduce the risk to about 7% to 19%. Reducing the meat consumption to less than 2 to 3 servings per week will cut the risk of developing one of these diseases by half, which I said earlier. The FDA does not control the companies using these poisons. So, it is up to you, the buyer of red meats, to know your butcher and to ask questions to where this meat is really coming from, truly coming from. and to know that is the cattle's actually inseminated with these chemicals that are killing our insides and people around the world. So, I know that red meat is tasty. I really like having a juicy T-bone steak. I know you sure all love to have one as well. But this matter is really serious. Today we don't even know that we are being poisoned by the cattle companies without even realizing it. And we have been for so many years. So, it's best if you stick with white meats instead of red meats, because they're a lot healthier, and they'll make you a lot happier, and they'll give you more of the protein that you need more than having just red meats. Thank you.
Andre, what did you think?
I think there was a good introduction. The speech was outlined well and it was well organized. There were a lot of good details, but I feel like there wasn't enough factual evidence and statistics. She paused a lot and read off the note cards, which distracted from the speech. But other than that, it was pretty good.
All right. Well, I think the introduction was okay. You had a good rhetorical question. The tie into the claim is pretty clear. You've got a very clear statement of your goal, and the secondary issues are laid out pretty effectively. I did think that in the body of the speech you needed to have a little bit clearer signposting, although there was one spot where you did use a repeat of the opening question as a way to make the transition to the second point. I thought that was an interesting way to do that, and I think you probably could have kept that going through the rest of the speech as well. I do think that there's a little bit of confusion here in the content of the argument, because sometimes it sounds like you're talking about the problems with consuming any kind of red meat in your general diet and health. Sometimes it sounds like you're talking about contamination of the meat products because of fertilizers or the way the meat is processed. And sometimes it sounds like you're talking about additives that are in the meat. And I think you're kind of conflating all of those things, and you need to show that each of them creates a particular kind of problem and develop those problems. E. coli, for instance, is a result of problems with meat preparation or cleanliness issues, and it's got little to do with the amount of nitrogen in the fertilizer for the crops that the cows are eating here. That connection is not clear at all. Like I said, you also talk about the growth of the animals, and that sounds to me like there's some issue concerning additives like growth hormone or something like that, but none of the harms of those things are talked about. All of the generic harms of consuming beef are rushed through very quickly. You've got one general statement that talks about that, and then the next thing you know, we're back to talking about the random sorts of things. I feel terrible that the kid died eating hamburger with E. coli, but that happened several years ago. That's one kid out of 300 million that have been eating in the last 10 years these kinds of food products.